adversity, bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never that. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 196. As always, I'm in the booth with my favorite two. We have Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela, and I am Dave, the body, Regina. We're giving another Q&A. The feedback from the last Q&A that we did, specifically with my brother CV, the voice over here, we got incredible feedback from you guys. So I think what we're going to do is like every 3, 4, or 5 guests, we'll throw in a Q&A episode. I'm pretty active on the social media platforms, so I see all the questions, but a lot of them now, I'm like, hey, man, we'll get to this. Thanks for reaching out. We'll answer it on the podcast. So it's become a nice little thing. If you guys have questions, you could DM us at No Snooze Podcast on Instagram or via email at nosnoozepodcast@gmail.com. I'm not the best with technology, so emails take me a little bit longer. The DMs are super quick and easy. CV, welcome back to the podcast, man.
What's up, David?
So we have, 3 or 4 questions that we're going to rock out with today?
Yeah, I believe we have.
And before we get started, I just want to shout out my brother Joe K and Ice and Iron. I just like to shout out good companies, good men, getting after it. Joe's story is a great one. I want to have him on the podcast as well. So, Joe, you're hearing this here first. But he talks a lot about, his recovery journey and how he's used cold plunging and turned that into, a real passion project of his. So I commend, everything that he's doing. I'm a firm believer in Joe and Ice and Iron. Nick Benente also runs this, with us in terms of ACE. We do a lot together, the 4 of us specifically. Sean Degnan, Joe K, Nick Benente, and Dave Regina. All right, so just wanted to shout out Joe K, Nick Benente, Ice and Iron, Cold Plunge Club. CV, take us to the questions, my brother.
Okay. So, as you remember from the last time, the Hooked on Phonics is my, my go-to. So it's going to take, this is a long one. So
Yes.
I just want to be, want everyone to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you guys. See, it already started. Thank you guys for what you're doing. No, that's wrong. Let me start over. Thank you guys for doing what you do. I know it's not easy, but I'm sure I'm speaking on listeners' behalf when I say thank you for inspiring us. I don't exactly have a question, but I have a conflict in my life. I currently own a home in the Delaware area, and I have a decent job that supports my needs. I was approached by my buddy's startup in the digital space to relocate to San Francisco. The job itself aligned with my expertise and what I see myself doing, but the reality is I'd have to sell my house and move into a roommate situation because of the difference in pay. I would get on as a partner in the company, and if things work out as planned, in 3 years, I'll be much better off than I am now. If they fail, then I lose my home, job, and everything I've built. That was a long one to read, by the way.
It's a long one, but it's deep.
Yeah, it is.
And thank you for, your support. We really, truly appreciate that and the acknowledgement. And this is no joke, man. This is, people really got issues that are tough out here, but this is a good issue to have, obviously, because you're currently a homeowner in the Delaware area and you have a decent paying job that's kind of supporting everything that you're doing now. And that, I really think, is the societal norm, right? You get a job that's paying for your bills and you're just kind of coasting and getting by. He has an opportunity, from what I'm hearing, in digital marketing or digital space?
Yeah, digital space.
So a startup company in San Francisco. So he's got to move
Yeah.
and sell the house because of the pay cut that he's probably going to have to take because this is a startup and he's going to have an opportunity as a partner in this. That's my understanding of what's going on here.
That's how I read it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, this is not easy, man, because you could live the comfortable life and there's also no guarantee by you moving to San Francisco that your life is going to change. But you did say something that was extremely important and stood out to me, that this aligns with what you want to do and in your expertise. So your current job now is probably something in that field, but not you being a partner at this level. So I think it's a great opportunity. There was I had somebody tell me this quote years ago, and it stuck with me, and it's something that I'll never forget. And it says, excuses will always be there for you, but opportunity will not. Excuses will always be there for you, but opportunity will not. So I'm looking at this as a real opportunity for you to do something that you want to do. But with that comes a heavy, heavy risk. These are real excuses, so they're not like foo-foo excuses. Like you got a home, you got a mortgage, all that. But if you sell your home, you put some money in your pocket, hopefully you move and you take a roommate situation because you're going to take that pay cut. It sounds like the story of First Form. Like First Form created this massive company. Andy Frisella slept on the floor with his partner for years and then created what's going to be $1 billion company one day. I have a similar, I guess, scenario with a house. So for those of you who don't know, I used to work for Westchester County. And with my job in Westchester County, I actually had a house. I had housing that was part of the incentive for me to be an employee. So when I had an opportunity in Greenberg, I actually took a $10,000 pay cut, and also with the understanding that within 6 months to a year, I was going to have to leave my house. So people were like, why would you do that? The county is much bigger. You're operating a $50 million budget versus going into Greenberg, which was like a $5 million budget at the time. And really what it was about opportunity, that I saw the opportunity. I remember in my interview with the commissioner, who was Andre Early at the time, I said to him, like, if this is all that this is here in Greenberg, I'm coming from something so much bigger. Within 3 years, I could see myself being a commissioner here. It didn't exactly happen that way, but the timeline, I think I was making $45,000 when I was hired. I still keep that check with me. Within a year and a half, I doubled my salary. And then within 4 years, I tripled my salary from $45,000. So I had to understand what it was that I was, I guess, envisioning in Greenberg, because I could have stayed in Westchester County. And when you're making $65,000 or whatever it is with a free house, it's kind of enticing. It wasn't that easy to leave, but I took the concept that there was a really, really good opportunity for me. And it was a little bit scary because I remember getting my paycheck and being like, what the hell is this? Like, you're not making that much money as it is, and then taking a $10,000 pay cut, it's crazy. But I saw the vision and the opportunity to do more. So I would say if you're passionate about this job and you're not in like a serious relationship, or maybe your girlfriend's willing to move with you or something like that, I would do this because there's going to be no other time in your life that you can actually say, I have this opportunity to do it. So get rid of the excuses. I say go for it.
Ooh, that's rough. That's
crazy,
tough.
right?
Yeah, I kind of have a different person, a little bit of a different. Can I kind of throw my 2 cents in
absolutely.
there? And I would have some follow-up questions, because I think
You got to
for
put
me,
the camera on you.
Ah, damn. For me, see, the microphone's on the wrong side. For me, I mean, I don't know. I guess I've always looked at life a little bit as a chessboard, and if I can't see the next move, then I kind of get very skeptical, and I'll stay with kind of what's sure, the security.
Yes.
Which I think is why I work in what I work, because it's always given me security.
Mm-hmm.
But the questions, the follow-up questions to this listener would be, one, do you have a family? Because that's a huge.
I would say no, though.
Oh, okay.
From my guess, because they would have put that in here. And I honestly think if you have a family and kids and that stuff, like, you can't go into a roommate situation.
Right. No, but it could always be like, oh, I'm going to move out there for 3 years until I get my things right, and then I can bring you guys over. I've seen.
Well, that's like 90 Day Fiance vibes.
Yeah. I've seen and I've heard a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from an immigrant family, and you hear this a lot
Yes.
in my communities where people leave their countries for opportunities in different countries just at the thought that it could be better. I mean, obviously, this is at home. Things got to be pretty bad. This doesn't sound like it's that kind of a scenario, but that's why I kind of like said it that way, right? Because I've heard of families that separate.
Mm-hmm.
For the time being, for a couple of years, and when I can get you right, then I'll bring the family over, and they kind of start building in that direction. So that's why that would be my number one question: Is there family involved? And that could be kids, or that could be just a girlfriend or a wife, or maybe nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That does make a difference, because if you are solo, it's a much easier decision to make, I think, because flying solo, you can just kind of take advantage of whatever comes your way. Again, another question that I would have: can you work remote for this company in the beginning? Because digital space is digital space. You don't need to physically be there. With today's technologies and Zoom and the ability to be able to be there, even on a TV, to meet and to do whatever, is still very much a real thing nowadays.
That's a good
So
point.
maybe for the first year or two, can you do that until it looks like it's going in that direction? You can still do the same amount of work. You can still do whatever it is, and the last thing, and this would be kind of more geared to what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Assuming that you can kind of leave, you can detach from whatever is here, not sell the house, maybe rent your house,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then relocate. Let the house kind of pay itself, because at the end of the day, if it can do that, then you don't have to worry about it, but you won't be losing what I think would be your
asset.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think, I mean, this is me. Again, when you guys write questions, you kind of leave it up to us.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And that's why I had all the follow-ups.
But if you're telling me that you have to sell your house, and then you're also telling me because of the pay cut, I'm taking that as you need a lump sum of money to go down there with, which wouldn't work if you're going to rent your house, right? Because you're going to make $1,000 a month, maybe. But
and that would be the question, though. And that's what we don't know, right? Like,
no,
what do you mean you need a lump sum of money? Like, for what? To move? You don't need a lot of money to move.
I don't know.
If you're picking up your bag, you just need a ticket to get out there. And if there's a roommate situation, you just need to find kind of like a part-time gig to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm assuming this startup company, there's no money coming your way, so you're kind of having to like have a part-time job. You're basically living as if you started off.
Right.
Again, we don't know why you need that lump sum
Mm-hmm.
sum of money. Is it because you, as a partner, you're expected to contribute? That's obviously then that would make more sense. But if that's not the issue, can you just rent it out, let that kind of take care of itself, and make this move as I guess taking a decade off of your experience to kind of start over?
Mm-hmm.
So I would have all those follow-up questions. But for me, it would be that I would need to know that the chess move that you're about to make, like, I see how you answer, and you're so like opportunity driven, and that is very opposite of how I think. I love the opportunity, but it has to be like a calculated opportunity.
I know, of course.
And granted, we have a little bit of difference in age, but my days of just jumping into the pool like and finding out I can swim is kind of behind me, because I may drown nowadays. I'm kind of on the older side. Whereas when you're younger, you're more resilient. You can kind of figure out how to get things done.
Yeah, I think it's risk versus reward too.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Because the safe move and the safe play, like, you obviously are in a decent position because you were able to buy a house. You're able to pay your bills and get by. But what is the opportunity for him to be considering this?
Yeah, it has to
I'm
be serious.
assuming that this is going to be, and you specifically said that within 3 years you're going to be in a much better spot. So that tells me, I would hope, that whoever owns that startup is pitching them and like showing them the vision of a 3-year, 5-year plan, if you're going to be talking about moving people out there.
And that's the other thing. Like, I would like to know if this is if you're right, if this is the person, the company that's wanting you out there, are they helping you? Are they helping you to relocate? Are they helping
100%.
you to find a roommate? They're helping you with like some financial anything, at least to get going. There's so many things that we don't know. So this could be answered in so many different ways that it's like kind of a little bit wild,
Let us know. Keep us updated.
Yeah, it was a good question.
It was, right?
It took me a long time to read it, but
Yeah.
all right, my bad. Let me go to the next question.
Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Kai Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Kai Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Kayi Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kayivisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Kayi Visions. Kayi Visions Productions, where audiovisual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the epi.
All right.
Camera on you.
Okay, here we go. We're 6 months into 2024, and I feel like I've done nothing. Whoa, that was a... I set goals every year, and they always go to shit. I think I might make them too elaborate because I never stick to them. Is there something you'd advise here? Anything helps.
I'm almost going to refer back to CV on this.
Positive thoughts.
Yeah. So yes, we're 6 months into 2024 and you basically said you didn't do shit. It's pretty funny. I like the honesty to be,
I wonder though if that's like honest, or is it like...
It sounds like this person is frustrated and overwhelmed. That's what it sounds like.
But maybe they haven't met their expectations. Because you know how there's people that have like very high expectations. So if you don't come close to them, it's like, I've done nothing. But in reality, it's like, well, wait, you kind of tend to be this person too.
Yeah, but
you'll down talk what you do. In reality, you do a lot more than you give yourself credit sometimes.
Yeah. No, I could definitely relate to that. So you said that you might be making them too elaborate, which is definitely a thing. Again, I would want some specifics on what you're putting out and what you're failing on. But I think the most important thing is to have a clear and concise goal, because when you're not clear on the goal and you kind of put too many things out there, it becomes like just gibberish, right? So I would say I'm a really big believer these days in like mottos, personal like mantras, a motto that you can live by if you're struggling with goals. And for you, one could be simple, like my goal is to align and advance in everything that you do, right? I use those words, align and advance, because that's really what I'm trying to do. So I'm giving you the advice that I give myself. Like I have on my not drinking app, it's to live in alignment in everything that I do. But with alignment comes advancement. And when you're strategic about it and you have tangible data, I think we just put things out there and then we like don't really follow the steps that are necessary to get us A to B. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You basically just put a goal out there and then 3 months later you're like, oh, I didn't reach my goal. Well, it's like you didn't really measure the goal. So I know we've talked about it before, but I think SMART goals are phenomenal, right? And if
that's
you're
where
not,
I thought you were going to go from the get-go.
Yeah, but like if you're not doing that, and that's just specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and a timeline, right? So it's not rocket science here, but like you need to be able to map out these goals. And I'm also okay these days. This is crazy. I'm really okay with failing at my goals.
I wish I had like a bomb,
Right?
like a sound effect over here. Let me see.
Because I'm more focused on the advancement and the alignment piece. And that's why I gave you those two words, align and advance. So I'm good with setting a massive goal. Like for the No Snooze podcast, if we said that our goal in 2025 will be to record 52 episodes, and we record 45 episodes, I used to be a dude that would be like, oh, we had a trash year. The reality is, though, now we'll be 5 years in at that time. And do you know how hard it is to record 45 episodes? I mean, you live
No, David,
this.
I have no idea.
Right?
Can you please tell us?
But you live this. So I really had to change my mindset. But the reality is, dude, look at all the progress you made. So if you're a dude or a female, I don't know exactly who's writing this.
Until Mike.
And you're just hard on yourself, that's one thing. But also like really understand what it is that you're putting out. And if you're putting something out that's going to be your goal that you want to achieve and you come up a little bit short, but you've made an alignment with what you're doing and you're advancing, you're still winning. And that's been a big actually shift for me personally. Like CV just said, wow, I got to set bombs off in here because of what I'm saying. But do you understand the thought process behind it when I explain it?
I do, but then I feel like what you're doing is changing the mindset, right? Like shifting the way you're thinking and how you're taking into certain things, which I think is right too. I mean, and we don't know so much information about what this is, When I read it originally, before I read it out loud, the first thing that popped in my head was the SMART goals, right? And I kept remembering this little person that keeps reminding me of like the small wins. So would it be, and this I guess is an open question, right? Would it be maybe a better strategy in this thing? And not to say that changing the mindset on it is wrong, but maybe set some goals that are more achievable. So that way you get some of those wins and kind of build a little bit of confidence. Because even just reading it how I read it, it sounds like he's not very happy with how he's, with the outcomes of the goals he set. So maybe building a little bit of confidence and getting some wins in may do a ton of good. Because even though they may not be what you ultimately wanted, and you set them a little bit shorter, but you met them, you're feeling good because you achieved something,
Right.
and then you can always grow from there. But I think the change of the mindset is huge.
It's big, and I love what you're saying too. But we need to get to a place where we are normalizing the pillars in our lives, and I spoke about this on I think the first episode of the year that we did. You identify the pillars in your life that are important to you, and then you select one goal per pillar. So if you have a goal, I'll speak on my goals, right? Fitness, I wanted to work out X amount of days. Okay. My faith, I wanted to get into my Bible and read that. My business, I wanted to really grow and build out ACE. Me as a father, I want to take one personal father-daughter trip with my daughter on a vacation, and then also every opportunity that I have to be with her, I want to try to be present, right? So now I can measure those things throughout the year. So that's the first step that you need to do, because if you just have all these goals and they're not like specific and they're just like, you're going to say, oh, wow, I don't achieve anything. If I were right now to do a measurement of the first 6 months of me in fitness, me and my faith, business, and me as a father, I'm really having a successful year, and I haven't achieved everything I want to achieve, but I've aligned and I'm advancing. And I think if you just align and advance, that's what this comes down to.
So you're on track, basically, what you're saying. Right. Yeah, measuring, this is tough, man. When you think about and I would think, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I would like to think I'm thinking for most people. But when you put when you put goals out there in the beginning of the year, and everyone will, when the new year rings in and we all make these commitments and all these goals, some people will, most people I think are pretty good at saying, and I'll use the weight one because that's I think the most common one. I want to lose 30 pounds this year, and it's cool. You kind of gave yourself the target, right? The goal, and then maybe you start, and then we drop off, and then kind of life kind of takes over, and the year kind of starts happening. And I think where most people struggle is like having that sense of measurement throughout the year, because although you're positive in the beginning and you're gung ho, when eventually sometimes life kind of hits, you kind of tend to fall off a little bit, and you kind of stop like being on top of it because the excitement kind of wore off. Yeah. And halfway through the year, you've kind of maybe like given up a little bit or kind of left it behind in the trails. And before you know it, that 30 pounds of weight that you set as a goal in the very beginning now kind of seems unsurmountable because
you haven't done anything.
You've lost, right? You've lost everything, and the measuring of that. And I think that's where I think the difference is when people, and I'm only giving you weight one because that's the one that a lot of people struggle with. And it's much easier, I think, to measure and to whatever, right? But when you're measuring this on and being diligent to your measurement throughout the year and being able to stay on top of it, even if you fall off, but you're being consistent on that, that's the difference, I think, between the people that do and don't,
But it comes down to mindset, because right when you said that, I immediately was like, that's the easiest goal in the world. Why is it the easiest goal in the world? Because to me, I just did the math and I'm like, that's 2.5 pounds a month.
Right.
I didn't even look at the 30. I'm like, okay, so that's 2.5 pounds a month. But that's why you have to, when you set your goals, you got to be serious because it has to happen right away. Because you have to go win that 2.5 pounds for month one. Because now when you don't, now it's 5 pounds for month two. And then when you don't, it's 7.5 pounds for month three. And that's where we get backlogged. And then you're writing in telling us that your goals are too elaborate.
Right.
That's the shift right there, right? You're saying 30 pounds. To me, I immediately was like, light work, 2.5 pounds a month. But you got to start from the.
We're not all robots, David.
It's not. It's not robotic.
And you can see like very different people. There's people that get on it right in the beginning of the year,
yeah.
And maybe within the 6 months they actually attain their goal. they got to the 30 pounds because they went super hard and they were super diligent
Yep.
and everything. And then they hit the 30 and they're like, oh, good, time to relax. And by the end of the year, you gained about half of it back or whatever. There's so many different like ways. And I think it always goes down to like building that discipline and building those habits. And that's why I said it, not because I agree with what you're saying, but there's so many different types of people that can go in so many different ways. There's people that will start for a week and then drop off and then it's over. And then on the last month, oh, let me try and get, and then there's others that will go really hard in the beginning. Then there's others that are like, you know, the typical roller coasters up and down. There's so many different ways. And that's on weight. I can only imagine when you set other goals. Let's say it's financial goals.
It's the same thing though.
I want to save $1,000 for the year.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, easy. That's only $25
$100 a month.
There you go. Right?
You know, not even.
And in your mind it's super easy, and people will maybe will start doing it, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then it's like, oh well, I couldn't save this month. Maybe I'll save next month.
See, but it's not that.
And
it's
then,
like you can not save for the week maybe, and then you better bust your ass to make sure you get that week back. Because once you start missing months, now you got an issue.
But that's the point, though. Like so when it comes to like when it comes to being disciplined, there's a lot of sacrifices that come into play, and I think that's also a big factor here, because no different than the weight, no different than the saving money and whatever goals you have, there are times that things are going to get difficult, and when things get difficult, that's where like discipline kicks in, right? But what does discipline mean? Sometimes it means that you have to sacrifice other things. If I can't save whatever that $100 for this month because a big expense came up, that means that the next month I have to sacrifice and either save double or come up with, in my mind, like a 25% extra for the next 4 months, and I have to sacrifice not having that money, but it's sacrifice. And sometimes people are not ready to sacrifice when things are not perfect.
Well, then your goals aren't that important to you, right? And you know, because you have to make the decision, because you're exactly right. You have to sacrifice a lot when you're reaching goals.
Yeah.
But during that sacrifice, you have to figure out, and this is where I always talk about do you really want it or do you like the idea of it?
Yeah.
Because
but I mean, you know, like everybody, most goals, people want them and they like the idea.
Yeah, you like.
And I think liking the idea is probably the strongest feeling that most people have.
Yes.
Wanting it and really wanting it comes from a different place inside of you. It probably comes from that place of like, you know, there's no other option. At which point you're now ready to sacrifice. And if you're at that place, you're right. But most people are like, yeah, I like the idea. I like the idea of being rich and this and this and that. That's great. But in order to get there, there's a lot of things I'm going to have to like say no to. I'm going to have to sacrifice. And that's where like, you know, it gets dicey for, I think, a lot of people, and they'll just kind of fall off. My 2 cents.
Yeah, no. It's good stuff, man.
I definitely know I threw you off with this, because I definitely skipped around on the questions.
Oh, I don't have the question.
Oh, even better then you don't even know what I'm going to hit you with next. Dude. Not my typical choice of words. Dude, I love how you are with your daughter. It's very entertaining and inspiring. And I'm a dad of 2 who hasn't been the most present. I messed up. I didn't put my camera on me. There you go. See, you didn't even catch me on that.
No, I've been, because it's every time.
Well, that'd be my support partner. It's very entertaining and inspiring. And I'm a dad of 2 who hasn't been the most present because of how much I work. How do you prioritize and balance your business moves and fatherhood? I'm glad this one's for you.
I yawned over here because I don't bounce. I feel like I don't. I appreciate that, you know, and I always want to acknowledge when somebody gives a compliment, because I don't do that very well. But in Diamandia lingo, I receive that.
That was funny.
That was
a good play on words right there.
Right? The lingo.
Look at you.
How do I prioritize and balance?
Yeah, this is a really tough question.
Yeah, so one thing that I can say, and again, it came down to like kind of a mindset shift. Like for a long time, especially before having kids, the goal really was success. But the goal of success, I didn't even know what that meant. It was kind of like, you know, having the time and the freedom to do the things that I wanted to do and build out in my life. Obviously, there was financial attachment to that success, but now I think my perspective, I'll call it, my perspective and my thought process has changed from success to generational significance, we'll call it. when I think about my grandfather, I always reference him because generationally, he is so impactful in my family tree. Now, I look at that because he's no longer here. And if I want to really be successful, I have to be present enough for my family to say, wow, Dave, whether that's my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, made generational impact and had super significance on us. So any opportunity that I have to be with my child, and again, you guys know my, situation where I have my daughter 50% of the time, I time block that time out. So you can do that too. And literally I time block it out. There's times that I have to bring my daughter to meetings, which is a little weird, but I mean, it is what it is. She kind of sits there. I give her something, and those are sacrifices that I have to make. And I wish that I didn't have to do it, but there's times that I just don't have that support because it's just me. I want you to prioritize the time that you are around your daughters. And you working a lot is a very admirable thing because you're trying to build something greater for your family. But as you know, you have two, so I'm assuming they're older than Callie, or I don't know really the age groups of them. But 4 years flew like that, and if I could say anything, I already have regrets of, damn, I wish I've done more with her. And I do a lot, and I still continue to do a lot. But I think you have to really change the perspective. Stop looking at success as just a financial thing and trying to build that out. Whereas a real piece of success for me now is what I'm going to identify as generational significance. That's my goal, to create something that my family members and my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren are proud of. And they're like, oh, wow, that was my grandfather, the same way that I'm proud of my grandfather.
Good answer.
I don't know.
I mean, I can't really contribute
generational significance.
I will say this though, just from my perception of you and your child,
mm-hmm.
I think that those situations are never easy, but I think the intention that you have with your daughter, I think it's pound for pound, probably the most valuable and the most significant part of her upbringing. I was kind of thinking as you were answering, I'm like, well, there's kids that are raised with 2-parent family households, and they both work, and they're working all the time.
Yep.
And you would say, well, what's the difference, right? And those kids are maybe when they're with their parents, they don't have the intentional type of interactions with their parents. They're just there. And I mean, think about when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I know how I was as a kid. I'm out there playing. I'm out there kind of not really spending that intentional time.
Yep.
But because I have 2 parents in my household, and those intentional moments come when they come. They're sporadic, but they come when they come. Whereas the majority of the time, it's kind of me, myself, my sister, just kind of playing with the friends, out doing whatever. And it's and as I observe kind of how you're raising your child, which I do think is a beautiful thing. I don't think I've ever even said this out loud, but I think the way you raise your child is beautiful. I think that you're super supportive. You love your daughter more than anything, and that's very, very obvious. And I just had a thought. Oof, I don't even want to tell you what it is about this.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh is right.
Recording?
Oh yes. Oh is right.
Really?
Yes.
You weren't recording?
No. Hold on. I'll tell you.
Boy.
I'll tell you at the end.
Oh boy.
But I think every moment that you're with her, it's always super intentional, and it's always for growth, and it's always for betterment. And as I look at the future for your daughter, she will grow up knowing that she is such a part of you, with everything that is important with you and with her. And sometimes I feel like as you're growing up, there's so much time that you're just out doing nothing, and that's every kid, no matter what, But the moments that you have with her are super intentional, super specific. So it's like quality. Like maybe it's 50% of the time, but it's 50% of pure quality, which is beautiful.
Thank you, my brother. No, I appreciate that. But also, to give, you actually sparked something in me too. You really don't need a lot of time to create the impact with your children. And I'm seeing that with Callie because specifically, it doesn't matter if I bring her to the park, doesn't matter if I bring her to the mall. She has fun doing that. But do you know what she looks forward to every single night with me? There's 2 specific things. And it's cleaning up the living room because I do a funny dance every time she cleans up. And that takes all of 7 minutes to do. She props the pillows up. She puts her toys back. She gets really, really excited. And she loves the fact that I get so proud of her because I do this stupid dance. And I'm like, wow, I'm so proud of you. And I jump up and enjoy. And then the other thing is doing an activity book or reading the Bible with her. And that takes all of 5 to 10 minutes. We do one activity and then we read for a little bit. And those are the two specific things that, like, if I don't do anything else with her, but I do those, it's a really successful day to her. And it happens to be right before she goes to sleep. So there's incredible impact there. You know, she doesn't have, I guess of course, kids are like sponges. They remember everything. But, you know, she's not thinking of what we did at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. It's from 8 to 9 that she's really, really excited. So if you are working a lot, those are two specific things that you can do to, you know, I guess change that thought process.
I love it. Awesome.
CV just did some switcheroos back here.
Oh, when you find out what happened,
this is serious.
I'm not even gonna tell the public what's going on.
No, I think now you have to.
Nah,
no,
maybe in the next episode. Maybe you can catch me later.
Let me tell you guys about Sur. Sur is a men's lifestyle brand featuring modern skincare products, patented tools, and branded services designed to instill confidence in men. Sur embraces a unique combination of innovative technology and scientific skincare ingredients. Sur combines traditional aesthetics and grooming services with the most advanced technologies found on the market today. Some of their grooming tools include the Skin Beard Roller, which helps promote blood flow to the surface of the skin, stimulating the production of elastin and collagen. Not only will this encourage growth of your facial hair, but it can also help reduce the appearance of wrinkles and fine lines. The Sonic Skin Scrubber Deep Facial Cleansing Tool. This nifty little device not only cleanses your skin and preps it for shaving, but it also massages your face to diminish signs of aging. The At-Home Laser Barber. Say goodbye to shaving and waxing. With their intense pulse light hair removal device, you can achieve long-term hair reduction with noticeable results in just 4 weeks. My favorite skincare product is their anti-aging face and eye cream. It's a one-stop solution for all your skincare needs. Additional services include laser barbering, hair rejuvenation, waxing, Botox, and my favorite, their incredible facial experience. I've never had a facial in my life until I went to Sur, and I can assure you I'll be back. Conveniently located in White Plains, New York, the Sur Studio has an outdoor patio, coffee machine, drink options, and a staff that's educated and friendly. Give them a follow on Instagram at Skincare for Men Only, and let them know you're a friend of the No Snooze podcast for an exclusive deal. Now, back to the epi.
What would you say your biggest shift has been in your mindset over the past 2 years? Kudos on not drinking. I'm 12 days in myself. Congratulations, by the way.
Hey. 12 days in, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm feeling those benefits even more and more, you know, every month that goes by. It's a great thing. I need clarity again, CV. I'm having brain
We'll go one more
dysfunction
time.
here.
What would your
biggest shift in mindset, right? Over 2 years?
What would you say your biggest shift has been in your mindset over the last 2 years?
Uh-huh.
And I'm assuming is referring because he made a reference to the not drinking, and he says he hasn't drank in 12 days himself.
Yeah, I'm very wordy today, but it's fire. What's going to come out of here?
It's because it's me. It's my fault. My bad.
It's fire, because the first thing that I thought about, I used to be really focused on impressing people, whereas now I'm really focused on impacting people. So the thought process and the shift and the mindset change is I've moved from a goal of impressing to a goal of impacting. If you want to impress people, you tend to talk about your successes and all the things that are going really well for you, which is not a bad thing. And that builds a level of credibility, I guess, for what you're trying to do. And there's always a time and a place to try to impress people. But now that we've established what it is that we do, not only with this podcast, me in business, me with Action Cultivates Excellence, the goal is impact. And when you share your vulnerabilities, share your failures, share the things in your life that are difficult, that is what I'm finding has extreme impact and goes way beyond any level of credibility for trying to impress somebody. I know it's a lot of eyes in there, but does that hit at all?
Yeah, no, that's deep.
So it's really just, to shorten that, again, the thought process has changed from impressing to impacting.
Yeah,
it's good, right?
Yeah, that's wild. I think
that's 4.
That's
4.
That is. Plus, if you want to impress somebody, just go get a nice car. You can impress them for the moment.
Yeah, for a minute though, right?
For a minute.
Yeah, but that's so true, man. Like
until the car gets old.
That was me. I'm like, yo, let me get this. Let me, do this, do that. Like, even now with like the watch game, my first watch, I remember I wanted it to be a respectable watch, but now I just really have a passion for them, But I remember the first one that I wanted. I was like, yo, I want people to see this on my wrist,
right?
And it really doesn't mean anything. Right. Because to some people, it's like, why would you even buy that? To some people, it just doesn't matter.
Right.
But I was really, really caught up on the impressing people. And again, when you're first starting out, I will say this, when we first started this podcast, I did have to come on here and say, wow, at 26, I was the youngest commissioner in the state of New York. Because you have to build some level of credibility because people would be like, well, what the hell am I going to listen to this person if I've never put out anything? Right. But then once you establish the audience, I think it's really smart to figure out how you can impact these people versus just coming out here being like, oh, I did this really good today. I did this really good this year and this. And people do care about your wins. They want to support you, but they really care about the losses and how you went from the loss to the win.
I have a kind of a follow-up. This just popped into my head. Are you ready for a spontaneous question?
If you're ready for the
camera action. Okay. See. What would you say to somebody whom has established, like you said, kind of like who you are and whatever, and like that, and over time, maybe as new generations come in, that old time respect is no longer there, and it's almost like feeling you have to like almost start over to kind of bump yourself up to be recognized again, or to be respected again. What would you say to that person in that shift? And I guess let me because that's maybe a little bit too broad. Let me put it into context. So I'm gonna come up with like a fictitious kind of idea, right? Okay. So Dave Regina now has been doing this for 4 years, and for 4 years it's been about building the brand, building the No Snooze podcast, etc. So now you're at a point where people now know you don't have to put yourself out there anymore and build yourself anymore, because now we know. Now it's known, right? Yep. Let's say you do this for another 10 to 15 years, right? And in 10 to 15 years, audiences are probably going to change, because now the change is going to be a different, you're going to have your old supporters from now, but you may have just new people now tuning in that can possibly be like, well, who is this guy? What has he done? What has he done recently? What do you say to that person as far as making that adjustment?
It's a good spontaneous question.
Yeah, put you on the spot, kid. Let's see how you respond.
Spontaneous answer.
Let's go. Don't be soft. Is that the answer?
Yeah. Stay hard. No, it's a good question too.
We can always cut it out. It's not good.
No, it's not about it being good. I want it to.
I don't even know if the question was good.
I want it to be natural. And yeah, I understand what you're saying, but also I don't think there's really much of a difference. I do think the goal, though, at that time is to collaborate with people who are younger than you. Right. So if you're like in an older space, you need to find a way to collaborate with the people who are in the position of influence. And then what those people can do is still sing your praises to the people to gain the respect. Right. So if, let's say let's use me and Ed Milet. Okay. Say 20 years from now. So I'm 55. And Ed Milet is 75.
Wait, he's really 20 years older than you?
Something. I think he might be 25 or I don't know.
Okay.
But say he's 75 or 80 years old, right? Yeah. It would be Ed Milet's smartest move to bring me along, because if I'm now the up and coming person in that space, I can bring Ed Milet on stage with me and talk about the impact that Ed Milet made in my life, which now gives him that level of credibility for then when he does get up to speak to the 30-year-olds who are listening, but they want to hear the 50-year-old because they're more relatable to it. You get what I'm saying? So it's a style, and it's almost a mind game that you're playing, but like you're collaborating with the people who are in position of influence to still sing up your praises, to then when you do get that opportunity to step on stage or do whatever it is that you're going to do, you're still able to kill it because you have that level of respect.
So let's flip it. Let's say Dave Regina now is the 7-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's a 20-year younger person who's up and coming.
Yep.
And has influence.
Yep.
Clearly people are listening to
Mm-hmm.
them, right? But your values and your view on things does not align with that younger view. And you know, when it's generational, right? Every generation has a different way of doing things and a different perspective on doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't always see eye to eye with older generations. And I think that's been forever. I remember being a kid and thinking the same way, and now I'm the older geezer that feels the same way, right? But how, you know, if you're not in alignment with what message that they're putting out, good influence or no good influence, what is the point of making a smart move? Is it just to stay relevant, to pretend to stay relevant?
No,
or are we talking about?
I think you got a point there, but if you're saying that there's no alignment whatsoever, but look at John Maxwell. John Maxwell is old as hell, and he still gets on stage, and the things that he says, again, people are intentional about personal and professional development. So he could be 85 years old, but people are still listening to John Maxwell for whatever reason, right? I don't know specifically what angle you're talking about, like what industry, but if there's no alignment, I mean, I really don't know how to give you a response, right? But like, I know if you're talking about you and your specific situation and what it is that we do, like you have individuals who are younger than us, right? And who definitely relate and can, you know, pitch the message that we're trying to pitch.
Do they relate or do they like the idea of relating? Because I think this podcast, along with all the names that you're throwing out there, the common core values are fairly similar. Discipline, positive habits, and like those kind of things. And sometimes younger generations are not that they're more so like cutting corners. Getting there, you know, working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Not understanding that the foundation sometimes is built from hard work.
Well, you were in one of the speeches that I just gave to 70 high school students, right? We just did it the other day. And I basically was like, hey, how many of you guys want to be entrepreneurs and make millions of dollars? And half of the room raised their hand, half of them weren't listening, right? It's just the reality of what it is. So the half that raised their hand, I really put it into them like, that's great. And we want that for you. But also, you don't have knowledge to go make that $1 million. You need to build a foundation. And that's our job as the older generation to continue to push that message, right? Now, whether they listen or not, that's on them. But what we have to do is continue to be strategic, intentional, consistent in telling them, like, listen, we not only believe in you, but we're going to give you the tools here. I tell them all the time, I'm like, yo, make your mistakes here. Make your mistakes here. You're supposed to do that. Because when you go out in the real world, I don't want you making those same mistakes. And what we do in our level of government is exactly that. That's our responsibility. So yeah, everyone, although you might not be in alignment per se, you still are, because these kids do want to win in life, right? They want to win. They just don't know how to win. So we have to be the ones to teach them to win. Feel me?
Yeah, sure.
It's tough. Right. It's not easy. Is that all we got for today?
Yes, sir. That's all the questions for today.
All right, beautiful. Guys, whether you listen to 1 or 196 with me and your boy, Claudio the Voice Valenzuela, we're very, very grateful for you. You can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And if you have questions, you can always submit them at No Snooze Podcast. Until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Wow, my boy left me on.
Well, because I was thinking about what I'm about to tell you about what happened.
My man left me on red. He left me on red, bro.
And there's not even a camera switch.
Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.